Hello, Patrick. There is, the radical political Islam that lends itself to terrorism. I mean, I come from a country that is half Muslim and half Christian, and we have Boko Haram. And obviously Boko Haram is built off of the ideology, or really uses the ideology of radical political Islam. Yes, that's agreed.
Grazie.
Not saying that this particular form of terrorism isn't something that should be talked about, and I think that it's something that does get talked about more than other forms of terrorism too, because I feel like it's easier for people to talk about because of the us versus them mentality, and because of the fact that it is in opposition to the Western world. But there are also other ideologies out there, many that are actively lending themselves to killing other people as well. And I feel like people never talk about these as well. And I think that they need to be talked about. The Western world itself does portray and does carry out various forms of terrorism on other parts of the world as well, and I feel like this is never talked about. But I do feel like there are a couple of ideologies that are out there. For example, Nazism, fascism. It's Western, and it's a problem.
Hey Tessie, thanks for the call in. So, question. Why do you think that people are talking more about Islamic terrorism than terrorism coming from these other ideologies you mentioned? And not just in the States and in the UK, but people are talking about Islamic terrorism in India, in Japan, in Russia. Could it be because of the frequency of terrorist attacks coming from radical Islam as opposed to other ideologies? Although there is an element of it that is us and them, I do think that it's because over 99% of suicide bombs in the world are coming from jihadi terrorists. If we're saying that there are other ideologies that lend themselves to terrorism, I agree 100%. But how many other ideologies are there that reliably result in mass casualties in this day and age? In short, while there are many other violent ideologies that could lead to terrorism, what is the terrorism that's actually happening? And as to the fact that people don't talk about these other ideologies, I don't know, Tessie. I'm hearing a lot about Nazis these days. All I'm hearing, in fact, is that if you don't hold certain beliefs strongly enough, you are literally Hitler. I feel that a lot of people are talking about how the West has caused all the evils that are currently afflicting it, and that's the whole basis of the postmodernist movement. They talk about colonialism and white privilege. I remember the 2005 protests here in London against the Iraq War, still the largest protests in UK history. And yes, Nazism, fascism and communism are an absolute problem. But if you mention fascist terrorism, it takes me a while to actually think of an example. Yes, yesterday I think 2 people were stabbed by a racist. So totally, let's throw that on the pile, on the one side. But also yesterday, 30 Coptic Christians were killed by radical Islamists in Egypt. So we have to throw that on the pile as well. But seriously, if I had to name serious mass killings carried out in the name of a right-wing ideology, I struggle. I remember Anders Breivik, that Norwegian guy who, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and before that the Oklahoma City bombings.
Part of the problem, I think, as well, is that these things don't come out of nowhere. It wouldn't be as easy for people to radicalize people against the West. It's not about envy of the Western lifestyle, but it wouldn't be as easy if there wasn't actual roots.
If it's the West bombing Syria and Afghanistan and Iraq that is causing radical Islamist violence, I still need to understand why gay people are being hacked to pieces with machetes in Bangladesh and apostates are being killed on the streets in Pakistan, and why there's so much bloody violence against non-Western targets in places like Africa and in other places in the Middle East that aren't being bombed by the West. But also I'd need to understand why we aren't hearing about dozens of Westerners being killed by Zulu terrorists or Congolese terrorists, or in short, any other African non-Islamist terrorist that are angry about their colonial past. Again, the point of this isn't to say that Islam is bad. The point here is saying that there is a reason we're talking about that, and we're not talking about the Zulu terrorists killing people in South Africa. And that's because, if we're being honest about it, one kind of terrorism just kind of exists, and the other one is really, really happening.